Hey, folks, welcome to the Encuentros Latinx podcast, where we explore stories of spirituality, identity, and culture from Latinx perspectives. My name is Taylor Amaj. I'm an author and editor, and I'm Puerto Rican. This podcast is a project of Encuentros Latinx, an LGBTQ+ ministry in the United Church of Christ. Attention ministers seeking a new calling. Faith Community United Church of Christ in Bensonville, Illinois, seeks a settled full-time pastor. They're looking for a leader who speaks strong English and Spanish with a considerable knowledge of both cultures to bridge between current and future members and their ever-changing community. Visit the congregation's website at www.faithcommunityucc.com. Find this opportunity listing at opsearch.ucc.org/ID/4775. My guest today is Marcelino Rivera, whose formation in a community focused on sharing and welcoming shaped him into a minister who extends that welcome to those who've been forgotten by the church. We talk about some of the limitations of the term Latinx, Latinidad in the UCC, and how the Pulse nightclub shooting changed his ministry. Fun fact, he had an encuentro of his own with Elliot Page, and we chat a bit about that encuentro in this encuentro. It's Encuentroception here on the podcast, so let's get right into it. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Can you introduce us by giving us your name and pronouns?
Sure. My name is Marcelino Rivera. My pronouns are he, him, his, él.
Wonderful. And what country or countries do you and your family come from?
I come from a little town called Lajas in the little island of Puerto Rico.
Wonderful. We have an abundance of Puerto Ricans on the podcast. We always love to see it. So what is a good memory that you have about growing up in Lares or in Puerto Rico in general?
Lajas. One of the memories that comes to my mind is how my family was very involved in the life of the town. How my parents always fostered family first and community. Family and community was the center of our household. I mean, remember anything that we do in the house. We have like a gathering or the special dinner. That dinner wasn't only for us in the house. I remember a lot of plates passing around the neighborhood. So my mother made sure that every person that live around us have a plate. On the other hand, they do the same thing. So my mother ended up with a lot of plates every time people have a gathering. So that's something that really helped me to understand the meaning of sharing what you have. You don't give what is to other people from the blessing that you receive every day. So.
That's beautiful. And so this term Latinx, how do you experience or relate to it? Because it is a newer term and it's very fraught. There's a lot that goes into it. So what is your way of approaching this term and this experience?
To be honest with you, I started hearing that term around 2007, 2008, here and there, because as part of my work, I work a lot with educational institutions, and it was kind of a way for the community that didn't want to get into this él o ella mentality that is in a lot of Latino, Hispanic countries. In Spanish, it's no gender neutral. This notion of we're going to have something neutral that you can identify yourself, especially you are in the LGBT community, LGBTQ community, you don't want to be called certain way. So part of the community is saying, wait a second, I'm defining myself is using the term Latinx. And when I heard it at the beginning, I said, wow, that's awesome. Then shortly after, people start using pronouns. Everywhere you go now, they're using pronouns. I said, okay, the community is looking for a way to identify themselves, ourselves, that we don't have to use gender specific things, the binary kind of stuff, because in Spanish, we don't have it. And somehow it was taken kind of away from us. And then it became something a little bit larger. And I think that happened more or less in 2016, that people start Googling after the Pulse shooting, and they start using Latinx not to define gender, but to define the whole ethnicity. And I definitely don't use it like other people. When people ask me about my identity, I'm Puerto Rican. I give my pronouns. But now it's been kind of taken away from the community and put for like a way to identify people. Okay, I'm going to put all the Latinos, all the Hispanics together in one packet, and I'm going to call them Latinx, regardless of color, regardless of ancestry, regardless of first, second, third generation. So I found that a lot of younger people are using it because they are son, daughter, granddaughters of the people like me, first generation that came to this country. But I believe that we have the right to self-determine how we call ourselves, and that's part of it.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of really good points, and maybe even some of the pitfalls of the term. It does come from this tendency, especially in the United States, to take all of these people from over 20 countries, if we're thinking about everything in the Caribbean and Latin America, like South America, all of these very different countries and cultures. When you get into the United States, especially, then there is this lump term. And it is this really fraught thing of like, on the one hand, there's maybe some, similarities and some shared experiences, but it can, like you said, erase or gloss over very unique and specific experiences. So yeah, I find that many people, especially if they're still living in Latin America or they're first generation, like kind of like you, they'll say, well, I'm Puerto Rican, or they will identify more by the country that they're from, as opposed to using this word. Although I wonder if even that might be shifting among younger generations in general because of the internet and the way that online culture sort of spreads these things, and people are sort of taking on terms and sort of changing things around that way.
And it's probably a way to take out of our identifiers. It's like whitewash a little bit people, put it in one pot. Latinx originally referred to ethnicity or sheer culture. Now the way they're using it, and I'm talking about in general, because I hear other people, especially politicians, Latinx, we need the Latinx. They use it as a race, and it's not a race. I'm not a Latinx race. It's not, it doesn't exist. So when we use it, I always ask the person, how you would like to be called? Interesting. I guess that Gallup and all those, poll places have done some research, and a lot of people don't use it.
Right.
It's like only 4% of people are using it. So I'm one that don't use it. I rather ask people, how do you like to be? As a person that is no binary whatsoever, I learn, and I have to put myself in other people's shoes. And that's what I do.
Yeah, I think I mean, you brought up the whole how the media in the US is like, oh, we got to get the Latino vote, the Latinx vote. And like, what does that actually mean? Because it's like, are you talking about the Cubans in Miami? Are you talking about the Puerto Ricans in New York? Are you talking about the Puerto Ricans in South Carolina, North Carolina? Like it's so like they really do talk about it as a singular thing. And then it really, I think, perpetuates some limited ideas of what it means to have this identity or this experience at all. And like you said, I mean, I agree with you too. I think that on the one hand, it's great to try to have an inclusive term to refer to the community in general. But when it comes face to face, and I'm speaking with somebody, like an individual person, and they say, oh, I'm Hispanic, then that's what I'm going to call them. Like whatever it is that person's term is, fine. Like I think, like you said, we all have the right to have self-determination. And to like, I'm not gonna, if somebody says like, I want to be called Latino, I'm not going to call them Latinx or Hispanic or something that they said that they didn't want to be called, because I think that's just part of respecting each other as individuals. And I think at the end of the day, at least the way that I like to think about trying to use these terms, that's the way that I like to use them. I'm not sure how other folks may be trying to use it, but
once
that's,
again,
I think,
it comes to how do you see yourself, like how you define yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, Hispanic, it was a term that was used to discriminate against people that speak Spanish, from Hispaniola, in the mind of the people that start using the language, as it identify all the people that speak Spanish are Hispanics. It was a political term. It's a way to discriminate.
Yeah.
And then people start saying, oh, well, Hispanic, and some people adopted because that was the first language in the country of origin, but not every country speaks Spanish.
Right.
So that's when the Latino come. Latino come from Latin America, and not everybody from Latin America. They have a lot of native language that they spoken in different countries. So they going, okay, Hispanic is something that we use to identify all these groups, but in the groups, there are people that don't speak Spanish.
Right.
For example, Brazil, they speak Portuguese.
Right, exactly.
So guess what? Our community start using Latinx as a way to say, wait a second, we are not going to continue this. I have to choose to be female or male. I'm going to do the Latinx, take it out of the community, and now they're putting it together. Okay, everybody's Latinx. So I will use the term with caution when I refer to people. Again, ask. As a person in ministry, I always ask.
Yep.
As a person, I don't take assumptions, and that's the beauty of being in ministry. That you meet so many people from different backgrounds, and they can be themselves. That's very important to me.
Yeah. So then getting into your experiences with spirituality and then your own identity, what is that journey like for you? How has your identity and your faith sort of come together in your life over the years?
I grew up Catholic, Roman Catholic, in a small town, very conservative. Expectations, roles. People know me. I like candles. I like flowers. I think that I consider no in my own country. And I always express myself. I didn't care about what people think about me. But the church, in certain respect, don't give me the space to express myself. I have to be like, in this moment, this is what you do. I moved to the United States, and I always been working for social justice and those kind of issues. And I discovered the United Church of Christ. So I'm a minister with them, and I found a voice. I found a way to help my community. I found a way to bring everybody together. I don't, we have a ministry that is not LGBTQ or straight, or it's a ministry open to everybody. And it really gives people the opportunity to express themselves wherever they are. And that's the experience, especially here in Orlando. After Falls, a lot of people were questioning their religion, their relationship with God, their spirituality. Like, I'm gay, or I'm a lesbian, or I don't even know what I am, and I have problems because the church or the traditional church have been trying to tell me what to do, or know what to do, or change because something is wrong with you. And I don't believe that that's what God is all about. And being authentic is coming directly from God. Live authentically. Live your life the way God wants to live you. God wants you to live a happy life and contribute to society instead of being like afraid of speak up, or afraid to wear something, or afraid to say something. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. So and if this is too intense, we can talk about, something else. It's fine. But the aftermath of Pulse, I mean, for you as a minister, you're in or near Orlando. How did you do your ministry sort of in the aftermath of that time? Like, what were some things that you really stepped into that you felt you needed to do for the community?
June 12th, 2016, I believe, changed my life, the life of many. I lost friends. I lost people that I used to talk to on weekly basis. I lost people that came to visit the church. I lost performers, singers, beautiful people. It changed the way I relate to the community. Even though we have a lot of people that were Latino, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans in the mess, they were taken away. All that was taken away in the name of the community. The politicians offered thoughts and prayers. The churches, and that's my experience because I live in Orlando. I live near downtown Orlando. So it's like, if I want, I can walk to Paul's from here, from Old Paul's Memorial. I mean, but it's a memorial now. And churches start giving services and memorials and a lot of things to a community that have been left out by the churches for a long time. That they were very hurt by hateful theology. People were more into, okay, this is a community thing, and ignore the Latinidad of the people that were killed there. The majority were people that their first language is Spanish, or people of color, and that was not even considered. Up to today, the memorials include certain aspects, but I never heard anything specifically in Spanish for the Hispanic, Latino, Puerto Rican, Dominican, you name it, community. So that's a very, very, I get very emotional because I was going places. That's how for example, I have a pastor from the UCC that came to help, or for their help. That's how I met Reverend Rina Ramos during Pulse, and we tried to help as much as we could. But very emotional.
Yeah. And so going on this thread you brought up about, churches and not fully embracing Latinidad, how is it that you see that manifesting in the UCC? Like, where has the United Church of Christ, in your opinion? Well, we'll go like first the bad, and then the good. But first, like, how is it that in the UCC you're not seeing the embracing of Latinidad in our own denominations, congregations?
It has been changing a little bit through the years, but for example, a group of Latinos and or Hispanics, you see, we look trying to look for a way to describe a community that is very diverse. I'm going to a church. I want to go to the United Church of Christ Church. And the second generation, the sons, the daughters, the grandchildren, they function very well in English. So they can understand the service, they can follow through. Then you have the first generation. Abuela wants to go to church. And Abuela sits there and you see her like nodding and, oh yeah, that's good. But what happened? I don't understand what they say. Then they play the music. The UCC is a lot of the old hymns and all that, which our community can relate to some of them because the missionaries translate those long hymns into a little caveats of the music. It's called corritos. So when they hear the tune, they remind them of corritos, right? What happened? Our son and daughter go to a UCC church and they blend. They like it. They can understand. They get involved. Well, people like me of a certain age, an accent, that learned Spanish in my own country and come to this country as an adult and speak with an accent or broken English, they left out and they tried to create their own church. And immediately what happened is that you move into the small room in the back of the church or into the foyer to do the service. And I grew up in New England, and that's the reality of the New England Hispanic churches. And then we start growing and we move out of the church or the main church and get like a small store or a house, and we start doing the ministry that way. And I think that's the struggle still up today. Our congregation is very small. We don't have the resources. A lot of people work very low-paid jobs, and contributing to the church is not something that is possible. I have in our own ministry here, the Iglesia del Pueblo, I have people that, Pastor, we need to get our own place. We need to get out of this room. And I explain to them with collecting an offering of $10, $15 every Sunday, it's not going to be possible to do that. So it's a lot of things happening. I think now, because we are growing as Hispanics in the United States, or Latinos in the United States, we are able to get more involved with the United Church of Christ and get programs in place, all that kind of stuff. So we're moving in the right direction. It's just taking really longer than I expected. That makes sense?
Yeah, and it's an interesting discussion too, because I am that second generation that does blend in really well, and that can go to any like quote typical UCC church, and I can understand what's going on and keep up and all of that. But ever since being part of this Encuentros Latinx ministry that we're doing, a continuing question that I always have in my mind is like, what does a Latinidad presence in the UCC really look like? And I think sometimes I've started to see some glimpses of that. I'm really curious as to, were you at General Synod? Did you catch any of that over the summer, General Synod?
No, I wasn't in this one. I was like,
oh, okay.
2 years prior.
Okay. Because in this past year's General Synod, there was one of the worship services had Spanish. And I think that might be the first time, because I've been going to General Synod since 2015. And I think it might have been the first time at like the General Synod level that I saw a little bit of Spanish. And so do you remember any General Synods that you've been to in the past that were more bilingual?
Yes, I remember, and I was like, wow, Rosas, she was addressing the participants in Spanish. We like to hear some music also. Next time, I'm going to the next one. But I see, for example, Encuentros like as a way to start reminding people that we are here, that we are not going anywhere, that we are brothers and sisters, and we have a lot to contribute to the United States of Christ. And the Toolkits, the helping pastors that are basically living in both worlds, in the monolingual and the bilingual world, to sharpen the skill, all that kind of stuff is creating hope. I've been UCC for 40 years, and I see the changes. We used to have something called Ministerio de Hispanos, and now it's called Colectivo, and I see it's more inclusive. It's more reflecting the reality of our community. And I see a lot of hope, but it's a lot of work. Something that it won't change is the people coming in from all different countries in searching for a better life for the children, for the family, the stories of we going to be doing the jobs that nobody wants to do. I work very closely with migrant workers, and let me tell you, I hope people, next time they go to a supermarket, stop and reflect on how hard these brothers and sisters work to get us the food that we just grab and pay for so easily. It's a lot of work.
Absolutely. It really is unfortunate, just the lack of respect and humanity that is shown to migrant workers, and to, people that are coming from Latin America to here. I mean, especially given, I was seeing a little bit in my news feed today about, I don't know if you saw in Puerto Rico, they took down the statue of Ponte de Leon, and
I saw that.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about, like, Puerto Rico especially has just been so it just has experienced so much of the generations and generations of colonization and exploitation, and I've been reading a little bit, like seeing people on the island talk about how now billionaires are coming in to places that were devastated by Hurricane Maria because they get the tax benefits, and they're doing all this cryptocurrency stuff because it's a tax haven now. And it's just like, and then it's pushing the locals, the people that have been there, to leave the island, and creating more and more diaspora. And then it's like the stuff that the US is doing to Puerto Rico and Latin America in general is creating more diaspora. And then when folks come here and they are those migrant workers, they just get treated like garbage. And it's a huge mess.
Yeah, they go to Puerto Rico, for example. I know that because I have plenty of conversations with people that come here, and with a lot of hope. Oh, I'm going to Florida. It's going to be great. I'm going to get a job. I sold my house in Puerto Rico because I'm not coming back. I'm not going back. They sold the house for 1/3 of what the house was worth. Coming here with offer of jobs. They don't speak the language. They get a low-paid job. The rent here, to rent a small apartment, 1 bedroom, I believe is $18 $100, but you have to have first month security deposit and all that. It will take you almost a year to get that money when you have your family and you live with Aunt Sophia and Auntie Clara. And after 3 months of the kids running in the house, they want you to get out of there. So it's a lot of suffering. It's a lot of uncertainty. And they cannot go back because they sold their home.
Right.
I've seen a lot of LGBTQ brothers and sisters moving here that carry a lot of pain because churches in the countries, Puerto Rico, you name it, and the religious community is like, it's something wrong with you. You have to be converted. You have to change. You cannot do that. You cannot be you because being you is wrong. And they come here with that I'm not worthy and I invited to church, and you see their eyes open like, you invited me to church? Saying, come exactly where you are. I have some of my I call them my ladies because we have coffee, we have, I learned that from an activist from Mexico. She used to do pan with the ladies, and they share bread. And so come as you are. I have one trans lady. She was like invited to knit and do things with the older ladies, and my former pastor said, they don't care. They just they asked her, do you know how to do this? Sit with us, and she was so happy. I'm like, okay. So God is good.
Yeah,
we have a lot of love to give, and our people has a lot to contribute, and we need to show them that God loves everybody. And again, my message would be, live your authentic life. Be authentic, embrace your spirituality, embrace your faith community, because we are there for you, and we receive people with arms open. I remember when Elliot Page came to Windermere after Paul's, and we have a one-on-one conversation. He shared a lot of personal stuff, and he was very, very moved by our church receiving everyone. Wow. No questions asked. Welcome.
Yeah.
And it's a documentary after Paul's that it was filmed at Windermere Union Church.
That's really cool that you got to meet Elliot Page. He has such a big platform, so many people like know who he is, and that's what a powerful witness that you were able to have that moment, and that's hopefully that encounter, that encuentro, if you will stick, and who knows what that'll bring. That's really, really exciting to hear about.
We have the opportunity to meet a lot of people, celebrities that come to Orlando. I'm a singer. I used to do theater in Puerto Rico many, many months ago, and I'm kind of part of the community. We sing together and met a lot of wonderful people. I mean, in different venues, and they recognize me as, this is Pastor. They know.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite song that you always like performing?
As a Sinatra fan, I always sing my way, but I sing it in Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of my standards when we sing and we do all this wonderful stuff with the community.
That's great. You've been part of, or the way that we met is through this ministry, specifically Encuentros Latinx. How did you first learn about this ministry, and what made you want to be a part of it?
As I mentioned before, I met Rena during the polls. After polls, she came to help, to talk to people, to help heal the community. So we kept in touch, keep in touch and all that. And one day we were talking, and she said, I'm coordinator or the leader for this group. Would you like to be part of it? And I said, absolutely. And I've been part of it since. So all the wonderful stuff and the ideas and how dynamic she is and how, she have this gift that brings the best out of all of us. And we talk and we, example is example that the toolkits for racism and all that have been used all over the United States right now. That we're still promoting, and I think we need to promote it more so people can use it in the congregation. So.
Yeah, they really are a powerful tool. And, Rena and I had a chance to present the toolkits as a workshop for General Synod. And I'm always amazed seeing how the toolkits really work within a group setting. It's always, it always gets emotional and vulnerable, but then that's good because I think people get a lot out of that. They're really having a genuine experience approaching these topics from angles that maybe they weren't able to approach them before. And I think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, and the fact that they're in English and Spanish, that's amazing. And it's not threatening. These are real stories by real people.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. And I'm amazed that small group of people were able to get together and create something from the heart that is healing, that is helping people to say, God loves me the way I am. There's nothing wrong with me. And from here, it's one way to go is up. It's improving myself. It's getting involved in my community. It's lifting people up. It's saying to a younger child saying, hey, it's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing wrong with you. I'm here. I survived. You will survive. It's helping parents to understand. Okay, you have a child that may be transgender, LGBT, whatever.
Yeah.
Disabled. I'm a person with disabilities. My parents taught me to move on. Forget about what you cannot do. Focus on what can you do. Focus on you. What can you do to improve, to contribute, to be part of this society and move forward and heads up. And toolkits are helping a lot of people.
Yeah.
To say, hey, God loves me, and I'm going to share that love with other people so people don't have to go to bed crying and feeling alone at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we're building a community. We have a lot of fun when we get together.
Yeah, we do. It really is, I think, such an important thing to do because just that the intersection or the crossroads between, having an LGBTQ identity and then also being Latinx, it just, there really sometimes are not a lot of resources for support when those things meet, especially in Christian communities. And I, agreeing with what you're saying, that it really is filling a need that is desperately there. I mean, even my own experience, I first learned about Encuentros Latinx back when it was called Proyecto Encuentros de Gracia y Bienvenida. And had Ellie not brought that directly to my congregation, I would have had no idea that there was any sort of space where my religion, my identity and my Latinidad could be fully recognized in the same space. And it was to the point where, like I was saying before, I assimilate very well into dominant white American culture. And so I didn't even realize what I was missing until it came to me. And then I felt like I've been missing this the whole time. And so I just imagine how much more of a need is it for, like you said, abuela who's in church, who doesn't understand what's going on. Not only does abuela not understand what's going on, but maybe now her child is having some type of LGBT experience, and what is there for her to help her understand, and what is there for the kid to help understand. It's just, there's so many ways that that the work that we're trying to do meets people where they are, and I hope that it can keep going and keep reaching people, and we'd love to hear about it too.
Yeah, and since I met you, that you shared about your journey, mm-hmm. and how you claim your Latinidad, mm-hmm. and how you share with other people, or the happy when you talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like I remember you saying something like, I can go anywhere and I don't have to claim, say to people I'm Latina, mm-hmm. or I'm Hispanic or whatever. Mm-hmm. But you choose to.
Yeah.
You discover it. You enjoy it. Yep. You're saying, wait a second, I'm proud. I'm happy, and you're helping other people to discover that too. Mm-hmm. And you can be both.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. I even wrote something that I remember something that you said and put it in there.
Yeah.
when you say, okay, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm proud.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So,
yeah,
and it's a lot of people that need that. It's a lot of people. That's what I believe. The more we talk, the more we do this kind of podcast and mm-hmm. reaching out, the more change we can do. So a lot of people are a little broken and just need a little help to get things together. And I believe that we can do it together and help mm-hmm. other people as well. Mm-hmm. That's something that I always say to people at church. Hey, let someone today, mm-hmm. talk to somebody today, mm-hmm. share something that God did for you, or something that happened that is positive.
Mm-hmm. It is a very powerful and empowering thing. I mean, the more that I do this work and lean into this work, and also just find new and additional ways to connect with more of the Latinx community and like meet more and more people, I find that so many people have a similar experience to mine, in terms of having a struggle of like owning this identity and feeling like, we're allowed to live into it and proclaim it. And it just emboldens me more to do that myself, because I've met people who are as insecure as I was about it a few years ago, where they feel some type of distance because they're second or third generation or fourth generation. And so it's this question of like, what am I allowed to claim? And what am I like, do I count or do I not count? And I love that, that Colectivo has become more open so that people can become a part of it and, not be pushed out because of not speaking Spanish or, or whatever it might be. I've talked to people who have, they've been around for a while, and they let me know about some ways that that in the past that community wasn't always as open as it is now, but now it's here, and there's this new energy coming into it, and it's very exciting to see, to have a more centralized presence of Latinidad in the UCC.
I love the word. You said it so nicely, Latinidad. It's amazing. We claim it. It's ours and share it. And I see a lot of hope when I see younger people getting involved, growing, sharing their talent, their gifts, and people going into ministry. It's amazing, because when I went to seminary, that was like a few years ago. So I've been around for a while. So it's good that we continue building and helping the community. And as I said before, people, the diaspora, people moving from all over different countries to the United States is going to continue. We always going to have first generation coming in, and we need to get some systems, some place, some programs to help them come in and live their dream and be authentic.
Yeah, and it's interesting trying to think about, as a huge body, as a denomination, how the UCC is going to meet that challenge, because I think about, I don't know too much about other denominations, but it seems from my perspective that many other denominations have a better structure in terms of, there's more bilingual resources, or there's more Spanish speaking churches in other denominations. Like it just feels like to me that, Catholics for sure. And I'm, other denominations had, like, they got a better grasp on it than the UCC has. What is that what you see too, that the UCC is maybe like behind other denominations? Or
I don't think the UCC is behind.
Okay.
UCC is unique.
Okay.
Through the history of the United States of Christ, social justice, helping the people that are in need, have been like something that we have been doing, because I'm part of the United States of Christ, even though first women preacher, first African American, United States of Christ helped building the institution, higher learning institutions, all that stuff. And now we're helping communities that are being forgotten, like the LGBTQ community. Not every church. I mean, you see the churches, but in order for you to be there, you have to kind of take that part of your life and put it on the side, kind of like, don't talk, don't tell, don't say anything, don't dress that way, look like us and you're welcome, speak like us, you're welcome. United States of Christ takes you wherever you are. Wherever you are in life, whatever is your path right now, come to the church, join us. Come in, sit down, share the table. If you want to clap, clap. If you want to raise your hands, raise your hands. That's what I love about a church. It's like, you see people going, during service, like halfway, and I said, don't worry, just, you want to go like this, go like this. You want to say hallelujah, go and say hallelujah. So that's what the United States of Christ is in my experience. No matter where you at in your journey, you're welcome. You are welcome. And that's my message. That's how I live my life. That's how we conduct ministry, and we in La Iglesia del Pueblo, we don't go, we are a LGBT church, or we're a church that everybody is welcome. We're inclusive, welcoming, open and affirming, whatever you call it. And I have the reaction of people. It's very, very, very UCC kind of, in the good tradition of the UCC. Welcome. Extravagant welcoming is real. Extravagant welcoming to people is real.
Well, leaning into that welcome, where can our listeners find you or your work, whether you have any social media for your church or your website or anything that you do? Where can people find you and keep up with you?
Well, they can find the Iglesia del Pueblo. We're a Windermere Union Church in Windermere, Florida, and our website is windermereunion.org. And we have a section there for Iglesia del Pueblo. And we meet there on Sundays at 10 a.m.
Awesome. Well, Marcelino, this was a wonderful conversation. Thank you.
I thank you. I really enjoy it. We have this wonderful conversation. We have to continue, let me tell you. Because I really enjoy it. We went through to a journey. We went to, left and right, up and down, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what we go for on the show. So, thanks again for taking the time to come on and speak.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to today's show. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this. On behalf of Encuentros Latinx, we hope you'll join us on our next Encuentro.